but I might be able to put something together tonight.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I got some bags. Matter of fact, let me just allocate that now before.
Okay.
I invited Kenny.
Yes, he told me.
He's gonna be on day one pretty soon.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You said it. Well, I could definitely do a 3-day.
Okay.
And if you want more, then we can.
What I got.
Yeah, I can definitely do a 3-day.
Did you get that by the group?
Yeah, but the Groupon, I couldn't get it quick enough, so.
Oh, okay.
And it's still, I was purchasing on the website.
Okay, good.
I just gotta remember what I purchased.
Oh, shucks, get your drink. Okay, wait a minute. I don't have an orange. I've never had an orange. What's this one? Oh, I only had yellow. Oh, see, this is big and nice looking. See, this is the one I have, this one. All right.
Yeah, I purchased the 5-day with delivery.
Oh, you already. Oh, okay. I think I saw your order. Okay.
But they said they couldn't get it to me until Sunday. So that was at the.
Well, yeah, that's how it's set up on the website.
Right.
Yeah, I can. Matter of fact, I can do 2 days today,
Oh, that's
and
good.
then we'll figure out the rest.
Okay.
Amen.
Yeah, because I probably won't start until like Saturday anyway. I want to do a little free
Okay.
prep.
You don't have to.
Huh?
I mean, it's better if you do, but I know you don't gouge your food,
No.
so, yeah.
Not really.
So,
But,
if your mind is made up, you just go for it.
no, but Friday, Saturday is good. I like starting on Saturday.
You like Saturday?
Saturday.
Go look forward, go look forward.
And then I also don't like to be work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I've been feeling really good. I've been teaching some amazing classes.
Let's see,
And I've been-
yeah,
I mean, I spend a lot of energy teaching together.
I bet, yeah,
I mean, a lot.
yeah.
So.
But it's,
but
I don't know if it's the type of energy or just the type of activity. Because I
It's
know
all of it.
when I'm working, I got people coming at me.
Oh,
this,
yeah,
that,
it's
the other.
scary and all that, yeah.
Yeah, I want to just kind of separate myself.
Sure. Can you take off when you do 5 days? Or you
Yeah, I'm off next week.
Oh.
That's why I'm
So I am.
Saturday.
I am.
Yeah, that's why I'm Saturday.
Oh, okay. So you're all set. I see your order.
You see it?
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yep. So this is the first 2 days. Let me double this bag for you.
Please.
Yeah.
Do I need any instructions or are they on the bottle or?
Yeah, 1 through 6 each day,
Okay,
and
so that's 12 bottles here.
yes.
Okay, sounds good.
4, 8. No, it's
2 days, 6 bottles a day.
yeah.
How are you?
So this is more than 6.
Very good.
This is more than 6. One, 2, 3, 1,
Oh, look at the photos. Okay.
4.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Coordinate, coordinate.
Oh.
Do that next week.
That's right. You know how we roll. That's how we roll.
Of course.
I don't
Oh, I
know.
put
Did you
2
say that?
extra.
What day are you on?
No, actually, none yet.
Okay,
I
Zero.
follow him for because his food's amazing and the whole
I agree.
Sunday I will be there.
Okay, all right. Tonight might be your night. You
No,
never know.
yes, exactly.
I mean, you got all this electrifying energy
I
surrounding
know, it's
you.
like,
Alright.
Chef Kemper's food's so amazing though, it's
Might as well come on for the light.
Yeah.
right, yes. I have to get there, I have to get there. See, you're all set, good job.
All set to get started.
To get started, yeah. Nice.
Wonderful.
Very nice.
All right, we'll be starting in a few minutes. We are waiting.
Did he have some of that wonderful music that you always play?
Oh, I didn't bring my speaker. I didn't bring my speaker. No, yeah, it's not open.
Hello, hi, thank you. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Thanks, all right. Hi. Hang on.
How you doing?
I called you yesterday.
Oh, okay. Okay.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
All right. So while we're waiting, Mo, you wanna can I introduce you and okay. So yeah. So we'll start right after Mo. So basically, well, go ahead, man. You go ahead and.
I mean, hey, you say can I do Jeff? I was like, sure. Well, my name is Maurice, but I do go by Mo. I own a company called Mono's Detox, where I help people cleanse their bodies, specialize in health and wellness. A lot of the same things, everything Kepler said, I agree with. I stand with this brother. I've worked with him, still work with him, got his back, so he knows that. I'm just happy to be here and to continue to show support.
Thank you.
I mean, he might give you a little bit more, but I was trying to
All right.
make sure.
Well, did you bring any product to sell?
I did not.
Oh, you didn't bring any product to sell. Okay. Okay, cool. Well, I have product to sell. But no, actually, I wouldn't even mind giving. Well, we'll see. But we're going to offer prizes throughout the night. I want to keep y'all engaged, and as I present this information. All right. So let's just get started. I'm streaming this. This is the beginning of our presentation, which I'm calling the Great Reset, and it's kind of a play on what I think is the World Economic Forum and their quote unquote Great Reset. So I said, well, that'd be a good title for what I want to talk about, because that is something that, as beings, if I could say light beings, beings of higher vibration, living, it's important that we apply the whole concept of reset in terms of how we live and the structure of our lives. So yeah, the Great Reset. Now, in this time, we're living in, obviously with so much going on, and what has been very apparent to me, more so than anything else, is that we're pretty much living in two parallel universes. Let me pause, because I did Sister Anna here. Let me formally introduce myself for those that I know most of you in here already very well for a long time, so you're very familiar with what I do. But yeah, so let me just tell my story in a brief way. And actually, I'll start at the time I moved here to Washington, D.C., which was 1995. 1995, I moved to Washington, D.C. transfer student at Howard University. Actually, 16th Street was no, actually Columbia Road, right up here. Adams Morgan was like literally my entry point. I stayed at Meridian Hill, which is, you know, we
No
can
longer.
almost see,
No
right?
longer.
And I'm going to talk about that. And so it's really no coincidence that I'm going to discuss that in the talk. But yeah, I came here in 19 as a mechanical engineering student. So had a a great experience. So great that I decided to stay after graduating. Ultimately, did do my master's in mechanical engineering as well, and but I've always been into health to a certain extent. Even before that time, I was really, when because I really credit a lot of what like my life is built on with being into hip hop culture. Growing up with hip hop culture in the '70s, and I'm from upstate New York originally. I grew up with the beginnings of what we know today as hip hop, and just the genesis, just being around as a child from the genesis of that, and the messages that were delivered, and some of the music, it really inspired me to learn and to grow as an individual. And part of that really led me down the journey of, like, because it was not just health, it was politics and culture and religion and history. It was really no stone really nothing that it didn't touch that is related to life itself. And so health is really what I gravitated to. And, so those were really some of the early days in the books that I would read. Again, this is way before any of this technology and any of the information we're able to get nowadays. So becoming a vegetarian was like something I started to flirt with as a teenager, and then later in my 20s, it just became more evolved. By the time I hit my late 20s, I was full on raw food. So this was something that definitely I felt is more than just, okay, I'm trying to like save my life. People turn to these types of lifestyles when they almost have no choice. But for me, it was very different, where I was really just inspired to want to do this just because I wanted to see what was possible, to see how good I can feel, how, not to think that I could become superhuman, but maybe maybe I could be superhuman by following the ideal diet. Okay, so now coming back to coming here and to Washington D.C. In the mid '90s. By the time I finished school, which was around 2002, 2003, I actually took my first and last job that I've had. That was at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. I was going to be a nuclear engineer, and I don't think I lasted 3 months at the job before I was really on this path that I'm currently on now, 20 years later. Yeah, that was 2002. So that was 20 years ago. And so I've been on this path, not just as a lifestyle, but also as a business entrepreneur for 20 years. So next year will definitely officially mark 20 years on this journey as a public servant, trying to inspire, to serve, to offer whatever it is, my gifts and talents. All right.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, so between this year and next year, it'd be 20 years, and that just hit me a few weeks ago. I said, "Wow, I've been doing this for be for 2 decades now." So y'all can clap it up for that. Let's clap it up for that. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, thank you. So in that time, it's I've learned so much, and currently I am presently studying to get my naturopath PhD in natural hygiene. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And that, as far as, I've had the store on A Street, Keppers Raw Fruit Juice Bar. Currently, I'm at Cane and Coconut, and that's been since April of this year. And then even before that, I started I started the Mojo Juice Club.
Yes.
And that was really probably like the initial set off where I had basically, it started as sort of a urban retreat where, all right, everybody could live there. We all have our lives. We live, we go to work, we have children, whatever's going on. But in the mornings, we would come and do yoga. I give you your juices for the day. At least the first couple of ones, we would meet in the evening to have like a therapy sessions. And we would do that for a week. And it would be always organized around the pivot points, the solstices, the equinoxes. And then between the summer solstice and the spring, we would do one. So it'd be like a mid tune-up. And then we do one between the summer solstice and the fall. So 6 times a year. And I did that for 6 years. And actually, my book here, Paradise Health, grew out of that program that was developed. And I think I started that program roughly around 2006. And it really concluded once I got to A Street, which was 2012. And that was the year that I published the book, Paradise Health. So, so the book Paradise Health is basically my, because at the time there was really very little information on coconut water, and starting around 2003, 2002. I had made the decision to only drink coconut water as my only water. And I'd had such good experience with it and felt so good about drinking coconut water as my only water, especially during a fast. Because my first few years doing raw foods, I was doing water fasts, and I became dissolute. I was doing good with fasting and feeling the effects of fasting, but I didn't like drinking just water and then going right to food. For me, what would happen is that I would often overindulge when breaking a fast, when I was doing water fasting. So I didn't think it just didn't feel right, and something wasn't right with that. So I stopped fasting. So for 2 years, I just said, well, I'm just eating raw, so I'm good. I don't need to fast. Until I discovered that, fast with coconut water. So not only did I have energy that I didn't have with the water fasting, I didn't feel the need to binge eat once I broke the fast. So that was a huge game changer. And so I wrote this book, and it really talks about that. Every authority at that time said, that knew about coconut water in their writings, and they would always recommend that you should drink. If you're going to drink coke, yes, obviously great to drink coconut water, but that can't be your only water. And my instincts were telling me different. So here we are 20 years later, and I can confidently say that I was right, or at least that's what I think. But I think 20 years of experience is something to be said about that. Even if it's just me. I mean, obviously, if we did like a scientific study and did 100 people and all this kind of stuff, but I mean, look, in the book I talk about, I was like, look, I'm willing for me, for me to be my own guinea pig. Now it's interesting because, years and probably tens of thousands of people I've served juice cleanses to in this area and even outside of this area. I would always, people would always ask, oh, what do I do? Should I drink water? And I mean, now with the experience that I've had, I can confidently say that if you're doing a juice cleanse, especially the juice cleanse that I prepared, that you don't have to drink any additional water. This is water, and it is water that is created from nature. I mean, not that spring water distilled water is basically a processed water. But this is a natural distilled water. And distilled water is, because the problem with spring water is that it could be hard. And by hard, it meaning that it has inorganic minerals. Those inorganic minerals don't process in the body. So that's what makes it hard. And especially if it's out of a bottle, it's unregulated. I mean, I think legally they can really put tap water. So it's really a trust. Do you trust this brand, this company? But the other thing too is that water is, by its very nature, a living thing. And anything that you bottle that's living shouldn't be able to sit on a shelf and nothing happen. So just like all the other packaged goods that are in cans and in bags and boxes, all of those things, if it's food, if it's something that you can ingest, is something that has been treated or processed so it can have a quote unquote shelf life. And that includes the water. So I got this juice sitting up here, and the shelf life is not very long. So, and obviously, I mean, it's relatively cool in here. So for the next hour or so, the juices will be fine. But beyond that, there's a change that's going to happen at some point or another. And all of our food that we take in should have this quality. It should have a sort of a living expiration. Okay. So that's my journey. That was pretty good. That got me kind of on in terms of talking about tonight, in terms of, some of the things that I wanted to discuss. So as we move into, again, as the title, The Great Reset. So Grace, we basically, we're in this is a holy time. This is a deep, when we think about the upcoming winter solstice, which I'll explain in detail. This is a really deep spiritual time, the most deep spiritual time of the year, especially living in the Northern Hemisphere. Living in this part of the world where the dark energy is dominant. our spiritual energy is highest. And what do I mean by spiritual? Well, in terms of being impressed upon and being impregnated, being receptive. The dark energy is receptive energy. And so this is a time now where if we want to change habits, we want to start something anew, we want to create new reality, we want to perform our own great reset within ourselves, this is the time. So when we think about it, or when I think about like our world today, we are living in a time where, and it's probably always been this way, where we have basically, it's like two parallel worlds, right? We got our artificial world out here, especially living in the city. I mean, I grew up in a small town. I think we had maybe 2 traffic lights in the whole town. I mean, I could look out the window and see 5 traffic lights. So huge difference when just being in the city in terms of the artificialness, just in terms of the noise, the distractions, all of these things that basically, and we got, literally, we talking DC. I mean, DC doesn't have a population over 1 million, but if you talk about the DMV, we're talking 5 to 7 million people that probably touched the city or affected by the economy of this city. So it's a major metropolitan area, and in terms of life itself, this is probably, when we look at, because there's levels to what I just said, like we can go from big city to small city to big town, small town, to the bush, right? And if we're living in the bush, we're living on the other extreme, where no electricity, no running water, none of the modern amenities that we have become, it's basically become second nature. No cell phones, no internet, total reliance on the environment, like truly. Because out here, this is a manipulated, controlled environment. All right. So that's important. I wanted to start with that because it affects so much in terms of how we live as a community. Like everything is set in terms of how, even to what we think, especially what we think. Okay. So as I said, there's this sort of dichotomy. It's almost a war of worlds, because on one extreme we have what I call the artificial virtual reality. And that's a reality. As fake as it could be, it's a reality. And then we have on the flip side of that is what I call the natural/spiritual reality. And I mentioned spiritual because, again, this is the time that we're in right now. This is a heavy spiritual time as far as nature is concerned. And it's because how everything is connected with our sun cycle. All right. It's winter solstice energy being the fact that we have the shortest days that are coming up, and how that affects us in terms of, a subtle, some of us, all of us feel it. But again, it depends on, obviously, if you're super connected to that artificial virtual reality, then I mean, there's a total disconnection. But if you're connected to the natural spiritual reality, you know, then you're very sensitive. You're very connected. So some of the things that, and this is something that is, if I can say, controlled, organized. Again, as I said, we talking about the Great Reset, and that's not my original wording. That's the wording of the power elite, the World Economic Forum. You know, this is their words. All right. So what are some of the things that how they affect? So the power elite, at least historically, has given us religion. They have done things to control the food, control the medicine, the technology, and that's a big one. And also media / entertainment, mass media entertainment. And these are some of the bullet points that I came up with. There probably many more, but these are the major ones. Now, on a natural spiritual level, where on one hand we got religion, and even religion now today. And when I say religion, I mean like the common religions that we have, and it's no shot at anybody that is quote unquote religious. You know, I grew up in a very religious family and household, and I have a lot of respect for my ancestors and elders and the religious tradition that I came up under. However, from a historical, political, and even spiritual viewpoint, I understand the not only the power behind the organization of feeding a group of people a doctrine, right? That is absence of spirituality, true spiritual connectedness, you know, and more of a message for control. Okay. So, and then obviously in terms of the natural spiritual and versus the artificial virtual, you know, natural food versus artificial food, where we have medicine, which is now today is in the form of drugs, surgery, radiation, or I like to say fire. and well, I won't say the last one, but as far as the nature spiritual, we got obviously our natural remedies, which I'm going to get into. And again, like I said, being in the big city versus being in the bush, you know, we don't have, it's a different technology. You know, it's like our lives are run by technology now today. And they're using, and obviously technology is going to be the major tool to further that artificial virtual reality even more so. So I wrote here, I said, the elite have made it their mission not only to disconnect the masses from the natural spiritual world, but the irony is for the elite to actually remain connected to the natural spiritual. So the elite on one hand, where again, the feeding of technology, religion, artificial food, artificial medicine, then at least historically have for the most part remained connected to the natural spiritual. we look at the city that we live in, and though it's again very artificial in a sense, if we look at the design of Washington D.C., they have designed Washington D.C. to be connected to the spiritual energies. There's more astrological symbols in Washington, D.C. than any other city in the world. 16th Street, which is, I mentioned Meridian. We got Meridian Hill Park. That 16th Street, if you ever have a chance, I don't know if he still does Tony Browder. I don't know if he does tour. He is very adamant about this is a field trip. But Tony Browder, great historian, Egyptologist, and he has a book on I think he calls it Egypt on the Potomac. And he does these field trips where you go to, there's a Masonic temple, the Scottish Masonic temple, which if again you walk up to it, the first thing you should notice that is no windows. So the Masonic temple, if we think about Egypt, the temples that also didn't have no windows was the pyramids. So all up and down 16th Street, probably more than any other structures or institutions that are on 16th Street are what? Churches. Yes, there are more churches on 16th Street than any other houses or schools, et cetera, starting from the White House. And of course, 16th Street ends at the White House, or begins with the White House. Now, what's also interesting about the White House, you've got the different colored rooms in the White House. And the way it's designed, the White House is looked at as a prism, where if you put light through a prism, what happens? The rainbow comes out on the other side. So again, I could go on and on about the spiritual energy of Washington, D.C. One thing I'll say about the United States is that even from its conception, if we look at all the major cities, starting from the southernmost city in the early colonies, which is Washington, D.C., and if we go up the eastern seaboard, all of those cities are on a meridian line. And that meridian line extends across the Atlantic to Stonehenge. So those cities are DC, Baltimore, Philly, New York, and Boston. They're all on the same line. And so that connects to the Stonehenge. Is it Stonehenge? Yeah, I believe it's Stonehenge in Europe. So they do summer solstice, and I don't know if they do, but they do rituals. But the way it's designed is like, again, trying to capture or trying to align with that cosmic energy. So as individuals, again, it just shows us how important it is for us to align ourselves with this same energy. We have access to it, but we have to have knowledge of it. But again, the agenda is to create that artificial virtual reality that they want us to connect to and be disconnected from the natural spiritual. One of the biggest, I just learned this yesterday, one of the most prominent elitist individuals of history that probably has one of the most, if not the most biggest impact on our modern day, as I'm talking about this dichotomy, was an individual known as John D. Rockefeller. And I learned something very interesting about him just yesterday. And and actually I'll give out a prize for anyone that can guess, come within 5 years of the age that he lived to. Anyone want to take a stab at how long Rockefeller lived to?
102.
All right, well, you're in 5 years. 97. 97. John D. Rockefeller was one of the individuals who was responsible for hijacking the traditional medical system. Now, as I said earlier, I'm presently studying under the School of Natural Hygiene. Natural hygiene historically originated in this country in the 1800s, early 1800s. The first doctor credited with the start of the natural hygiene movement it goes by the name of Dr. Isaac Jennings. Dr. Isaac Jennings created the Do Nothing Plan. The Do Nothing Plan was, again, he was your traditional doctor, and at that time, the techniques were very primitive, and he was discouraged by his lack of results. And so he became very acutely aware of natural medicine in the sense of really the body is its own healer. And so he had what we call the Do Nothing Plan, and the Do Nothing Plan was essentially where he would treat his clients with basically placebo or sugar pills. And he did that for 20 years, and he was getting phenomenal results. And he didn't let the cat out the bag until 20 years after, where he let people know. It's like, look, people were upset. They did not like that. But yet, even though they got better, and well, it's interesting about the natural hygiene movement because it was a civil war pre-Civil War, there were more natural healing institutions than there were hospitals, where you could go do things like hydrotherapy, herbal healing, homeopathy, things like that. All right, fasting, all of the quote unquote natural methods. And so a lot of those institutions were destroyed during the Civil War, and it destroyed the movement. The movement didn't really pick back up until the early 1900s. And John D. Rockefeller, to come back to him, even though he had worked to hijack all of the different schools of medicine that weren't a part of their newly created accreditation, the AMA, American Medical Association, they funded him, and Carnegie and probably some others funded the Flexner Report, which that document and that work basically set the stage for them basically funding the hospitals and the medical institutions and the medical schools in terms of using petroleum as the base for their medicines, and basically creating a standard that's set by them. The irony of that was that John D. Rockefeller himself personally followed the homeopathy. He followed the natural path. That's why he lived to 97 years old. So as I said, the elite have found ways. It is their mission to keep the masses deaf, dumb, and blind, or I shouldn't say deaf, dumb, and blind, because they're very intelligent people, to keep us disconnected from the nature spiritual, while them themselves will follow and connect with the natural spiritual, while they got the masses connected to the artificial virtual. All right. And the elite understand that while them themselves is the minority, anyone else outside of their circle is going to, what they've created is for the masses. What I'm talking about tonight is for the few of us, the minority. And it'll always be that way. So anytime we disconnect from, or really reconnect to real, to the natural spiritual, as I call it, understand that this is not meant for everybody. It's not meant for, if you got 10 people in a room, you might be the only person. If you got maybe 1,000 people in the room, you got a handful of people that you can relate to, you can connect with on this same paradigm, this same message, this same way of life. Now, before I get into, the winter solstice, one of the main things I wanted to focus on, and I've never publicly talked about this aspect. This is an aspect of health. I want to see if anyone can figure out what I'm going to touch on next. Because what I've come to realize that this is something that's so important. It's obviously not more important than probably breathing itself, but I would probably have to put it number 2, right after breathing itself. More important than diet. It's not diet. It's not exercise. What is it? What do you think?
Rest.
Yes, rest. Or sleep.
Yes.
Yes, rest, sleep. Yes, sleep. And of course, it is pertinent that we talk about sleep, not because of just how important it is, because of this time that we're in right now. This is an extended sleep cycle. I mean, imagine if we didn't have, again, we live in this artificial virtual reality where electricity, is the rule of the day. And so with electricity, with, again, the lights, the noise, the stimulation, just understanding that, and then being in just this overly stimulating environment where, again, it disrupts the rest, it disrupts the sleep. I mean, so the thing with sleep, and we'll talk about all of the tenets of sleep. Obviously, that's something that we do every night. But because we live in an artificial virtual reality, we may not be getting the most efficient sleep. We may not be getting enough sleep. These are things that have an impact on everything. Everything. So let me ask, is there anyone, I would assume that most of you here are at least getting, well, is there anyone that routinely gets less than 6 hours of sleep? Okay. What about anybody getting more than 8 hours of sleep? Let me ask that. Yeah, nobody getting more than 8. Okay.
You had too much?
Well, I would say at least seven. At least seven. At least seven. But the most important time, um, because one of the things, yeah, you had a question.
Isn't that all kind of dependent on your diet? Like if you're
We're
not
gonna get
eating-
into that. Yeah, we're gonna get into that. Yeah, it's connected. The whole thing is very holistic in that way. Diet and exercise for that matter. But as far as sleep, pull up my slide here. I mean, especially when we talk about fasting, because fasting is essentially, it's really, when we fast, we're extending that sleep rejuvenated rest period because we're not activating the digestion in that way. But just looking at sleep in its own thing, I mean, because the thing is like everybody is looking for more energy, right? And the only way that we can really gain more energy is to have better sleep. Food does not give us energy. I can't think of anything that will actually revitalize you other than sleep. I mean, food, if it does give you energy, obviously, and it's not alcohol, it's not marijuana, it's caffeine. That is the number one drug on the street, is caffeine. Because again, why? We are trying to get more by doing less. And the thing is that we want to, people can't afford, I mean, we live in this artificial virtual reality where people cannot afford to sleep 8 hours a night. So it's like, okay, how can I compensate for these extra 2-3 hours of rest, rejuvenation, for repair, for healing on every level? And so caffeine becomes that necessary evil for a lot of people. And that's something that, again, I mean, people just become obviously extremely addicted to. All right, let me see. All right. So what's interesting, again, like I said, we live in this artificial virtual reality. And when I started going to Jamaica and I was doing retreats, and one of the first things that I noticed was when the sun went down, I became very tired. It was like, I mean, 8-9 o'clock, I was like, I'm in the bed. I mean, it was not even, it was no negotiation. I mean, it was like, look, I mean, it just was so strong. And then obviously I come back here and I don't feel that. And I'm up till routinely 11, 12 o'clock at night. Where there I'm going, like I said, sun go down. Now, why did that happen? Well, I mean, obviously being in a more natural environment, that's one thing. But part of that environment was the sun. The sun being so intense during the daylight hours, activating that serotonin, all right, which is going to later activate what? In the evening, the melatonin. So the serotonin is what I call the sun hormone, and the melatonin is what I call the moon hormone. And they work together, and they control they control everything in the body, all the glands. We got the thyroid gland. So we know people with thyroid issues. and that's regulating the metabolism. People got hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism. The thymus gland, which is basically running the lymphatic system, which essentially is the immune system. I mean, the lymphatic system is, I mean, especially when we fast, that's what moves the lymphatic. I mean, other than certain exercises and things of that nature, but it's the lymphatic system in terms of its biggest job is keeping the blood clean, right? So all of the toxins and the things that the excess, as I call it, gets lodged, a lot of it in the lymphatic system. So again, all of this is coming back to the quality, the quantity, but more important, the quality of sleep that we're getting. The pancreas. And pancreas, its job is creating enzymes. And I mean, it's not just digestive enzymes. I mean, everything we do requires enzymes. So if we're not producing enzymes on a healthy level, then I mean then we die. But certainly it's creating those digestive enzymes, which is why we want to eat as much living food as possible. So we don't put as much strain and stress on the pancreas. And then of course the adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands is obviously vital, just like everything else. But that's basically gives us our total hormonal support. And we talk about the whole flight or fight, being stressed, and all of that type of stuff connected to our sleep. And then, of course, we got the sex glands as well. So we understand. I mean, men. I mean, if we're not getting enough sleep, we're not going to produce the testosterone that we need. Women, the same thing. The natural estrogen and the feminine hormones. So again, the foundation is sleep, and it just shows that the foundation starts at night, and it's almost like we have to be in that comatose state for true healing and health for almost a third of the day. It's amazing. Amazing. All right. So y'all understand how important sleep is. So how do we optimize sleep? Let's start there. Well, one is light. So let's say, okay, you're ready to go to sleep. You want to create the perfect situation so you can get whether your 7+ hours of sleep. Now, there shouldn't be any light anywhere. It should be complete darkness. And it's like, that's like a struggle nowadays. I mean, there's light, there's little, I mean, light bends. It turns corners. I mean, you got these, people, I'm sure people sleep next to their phones. They got all type of devices and things that have little lights and things of that nature. I mean, it's just not enough to just turn off your lights. Any form of light, your body is sensitive to. And studies have shown that will affect your quality of sleep. So shutting out all light is probably one of the most important things you can do. Even if you have on one of those fake, like your skin is still affected by that light. The time. Next is the timing. So the sweet spot, the sweet hours are between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. That's where you're going to get your most effective sleep. So by 9 p.m., you want to be winding down. You want to be like preparing yourself. So by 10, at least 10 p.m., 10:30, you are in that REM. One of the things, again, in our artificial virtual reality, what happens in the springtime? Exactly. Daylight slaving time. That's what it's called. We lose an hour. So we don't, yeah, we actually lose the hour. So what the whole premise of it is that they take that what would ordinarily be an extra of more that daylight hour, which would be in the morning, and they're putting it on the back end. And
I have
it,
a question real quick.
yeah,
So is that artificial? Because
that is artificial.
right, because no one else does that. Not no
Well,
one
they
else
do it
does
here and they do it in Europe. That's it.
Right.
And it's for business.
Wow.
Because they figure like, because again, I mean, here in the summertime, it'll get dark at like 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
where it should be 8 o'clock.
Right.
In my old car, I used to, where it wasn't connected to the, the system, like the time on my dad, I would never change it because I wanted to always know what the real time was. And it was just, it was just something to just, I could see it's like, oh, it's really 3 o'clock when ordinarily it would be 4 o'clock. I mean, now we're in the real time. But again, once, and again, they've made it shorter and shorter. So they do it, we get the hour back after Halloween. Okay, so it's always the first weekend after Halloween. That weekend, we gain the hour back. And I'm not sure, I believe it's in March where we lose the hour. Okay, so but this doesn't change, which again, being in this artificial virtual world or area of the world, I should say. I mean, when I was in Brazil, I mean, I probably felt that energy in terms of going to bed early or on time, I should say, the strongest because why? I was closer to the equator. I mean, 5 a.m., the sun is up. People are all moving around. I mean, you think it's 12 noon. It was amazing. Then 6 p.m., darkness. So that being obviously a more ideal, more balanced, creating the situation for yourself to get that good sleep every night. So you can get that good healing every night. So time. And the last thing is being able to ground yourself, earth yourself. Again, like I said, we live in an artificial virtual reality or virtual world. All of us have on shoes. Most, if not all of those shoes have rubber soles, which disconnects us from the earth's energy. The earth has a natural electric energy that emits electrons, healing electrons, that neutralizes inflammation in the body. It neutralizes, we talked about the adrenals with the stress. So everything we do can create inflammation, stress, and being connected to the earth with those electrons can help neutralize. So if there's any time during the day to connect to that source, is when we sleep. So for years, I've been sleeping on I have a grounding mat that I sleep on, and I I also have a tester every couple of months. I'll test it. So basically, what I'm testing is my electric voltage in my body. I mean, we're electrical beings, and if we eat, and this is the reason why we should eat primarily antioxidant rich foods, which largely is fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, and spices. Those have an electric charge, a negative electric charge that serves in a similar way. And so when we ground and we earth, we while we're asleep, again, we're magnifying the quality of sleep. I mean, one of the just as far as your information, as far as the whole grounding principle, probably the strongest electrical energy is at the beach. So in the summer, that's why, and I think that's why everybody just loves to go to the beach. It's healing on levels that people don't even know. So we go to the beach, then we're getting plenty. And again, we're not putting them rubber shoes on. No, we're connecting. And then even the strongest connection is when you get in the water. That's when you get the strongest connection. But we definitely want to, I would definitely invest in a grounding mat. It plugs into the round port. That round port is a grounding port. That port is like literally connected to the earth. And the whole thing was discovered when they ground the cable wires. The signal was cleaner. And when they ground electrical devices, it protects the electrical device. So when we plug that port in, then what happens is, like, we're probably, if I was to measure the voltage of everyone in here, you'd probably be somewhere around maybe 3 to maybe upwards to 7 voltage. I don't know the units, but basically when you ground, that will turn to 0. Yeah, so it's powerful. All right. So what are the things now, again, to the brother's question earlier, the things during the day that create the good sleep at night? And again, we talked about, we should know, obviously, the food, how we eat during the day. And obviously, all of this is created by the sun's cycle. I mean, it's just amazing to say, when I say from 10 to 2, we think about the number 10 when it shows 10 o'clock on the clock. But that's a position that's really associated with the position of where the sun and the moon is in relation to where we're at on the planet. That's what is dictating the quality of sleep, not the numbers on the clock. It's the position of the sun, which, again, going back to what I said before, or when I opened up as far as religion versus nature spirituality. Nature spirituality, again, I mean, it's a recorded history that people worship the sun. And for good reason. So, by creating good sleep, not just what we eat, but when we eat. So if between 10 and 2 is where we get the sweet spot of good sleep, then the opposite of that is where we should be ingesting our heaviest meal. Closer to more on the afternoon side, I would say. So for me personally, I'm taking my meals sometime probably not even before 2. So between maybe 2 and 5, generally on the early side. I say between 2 and 4 is when I'm taking in my meal. Okay. So again, and that's dictated of the position of the sun. The second thing is the sun itself and getting sun. As I mentioned, anytime I move closer or I'm spending time, like I've been in Brazil, Jamaica, Panama, I'm instantly connecting to the natural cycle of the day, the natural cycle of the sun. So I'm getting that sun, which is stimulating my serotonin, which is going to later stimulate my melatonin. And I absolutely would never, ever recommend you taking artificial serotonin, melatonin. Never, just never even think about doing that. So we want to spend at least, and it's like, okay, what do? We live in this, it's cold. The sun is not that strong. Well, I mean, again, we live in the, we got to take with what we got. We got to take with what's there. So it doesn't mean as cold as it might be, we still have to get sun, especially melanated people, even more so. I mean, we should be outside no matter how cold, at least an hour every day. And last but not least, exercise. Ideally outside, knock out 2 birds in 1 stone. So get your hour workout year round outside. Ideally. And they found that it's best to exercise in the morning. I don't understand these people that are working out at night. The absolute worst time to be doing even yoga, dance, a lot of dance classes are at night, people in the gym at night. No, get your workout ideally in the morning. If you have to get up early, just get up that much earlier. And even if it's 20, 30 minutes, it's better to wake up earlier to get that workout time in the morning. That's going to basically set the tone for the whole day. Like by the afternoon, when you're ready to eat, you're going to process that meal like nothing. And then when it's time to rest, you're creating the stage for the best rest. One of my what's interesting is that I gave when I was preparing for this, and I look back at some previous presentations I had done. I had done a winter solstice presentation 9 years ago to this day, December 14th. And so I didn't have to recreate a lot of the notes that I created, in preparation for this. And one of the individuals that I highlighted in my talk was a gentleman by the name of Li Chen Yuan. Anybody familiar with him? Li Jing Yuan. I think that's better pronunciation. Well, Li Jing Yuan is documented as having lived 256 years. You should know by the name, he was from China, had, I believe, at least over 100 children. Over his lifespan, 20 wives. I don't know if he had them simultaneously or, they died off. I don't know that. But he was a qigong master. You know, that was his exercise. But he some notes. He walked 10 miles every day, and he ate a big part of his diet was goji berries and wild ginseng. But some of the things that his formula for longevity, and I'll just read them off: tranquil mind, sit like a tortoise, walk springly like a pigeon, and sleep like a dog. So sleep like a dog. That's what I mean, it's just ironic that the more sleep we get, the longer we'll live. I could just say that, like, and that just be facts. Like, I mean, it's like what they call sleep, the cousin of death. So, I mean, you know, life is so ironic in that way. Okay, so that's my spill on sleep. Now, what is, again, going back to the beginning when I talked about this being the holy time, and really outlining not just the importance of sleep, but then now let's bring it together with fasting. Because with fasting, what are we doing? When we're fasting, and let me just talk about fasting a little bit, because you know we had touched on this before we talked, and there's different fasts. And even when I talked about my journey, you know, my first year I was doing these water fasts, and then I just stopped because I just didn't like. I felt like just a springboard. I was just going back and forth between the extremes, and so we have dry fasting, the most intense. Your body goes into accelerating healing mode with dry fasting. Ordinarily, I don't recommend it. I don't even have a lot of experience, because it's like, I mean, fasting, like anything, is it's a lifestyle. It's and dry fasting is very intense. It's just very intense.
What is dry fasting?
Just on the breath. No water, no, nothing crossing your lips. And it's really the true definition of a fast. You know, especially, I mean, people, biblical scholars, and talk about the fast, that's what they meant, the dry fasting. And again, I mean, it could be 24 hours. It could be, I mean, you know, Dick Gregory, you know, rest in peace to our great ancestor, who did a lot of fasting, did a lot of dry fasting. I know he would go some weeks on dry. So it's like one day. I mean, I'm just going to take a stab. Like 1 day dry fasting is probably, water, not even juice. Because there is a difference. So dry is the most intense. And then we have distilled water, which is like one click above dry. I mean, there's a huge difference between distilled water and spring water. Distilled water is just nothing. I mean, you might as well do dry. Well, I mean, you will urinate with distilled water, obviously. So you are getting something, but you're not getting anything. And there is a difference. Like you just won't feel any energy or to do nothing, which ultimately is the healing of the fast. Yeah.
I definitely did 2 of those this summer, 3 days. I didn't want to work out, and I like working out. I was like,
What? Just distilled water?
no, dry fasting.
Oh, dry fasting. Yeah, and then we have spring water, which again, none of these I personally recommend. Whether it's for maintenance or whether it's for healing, anything that you can do, like any reason that you can, I mean, unless you're just doing it for like some higher spiritual purpose. Yeah, I just don't see from my experience, any reason, whether it's especially health, you can attain doing, coconut water fresh juices. So then on top of that, so you got spring water, and then on top of that, you got your coconut water. So your coconut water, that's the base, that's the ideal. Like if you can do coconut water and only coconut water, and you don't want to do any juice, like coconut water, and this is the thing that coconut water has over fresh juices, is that it's a whole food. Like fresh juices has been processed. Like a lot of times you're taking the water from the cucumber or from the orange, from the apple. Okay, where coconut water is whole as a water. Yeah.
Does it matter if it's a young coconut versus a green coconut?
That's the same thing. So a green coconut is a young coconut. So it's the green young coconut water. If you can do that for however long. Longest I've done is 37 days. It was 5 weeks on coconut water. Actually, the first 3 weeks was just coconut water, and then I added fresh squeezed orange juice for the last 2 weeks. I wish I had journaled, because the first 3 weeks was a breeze. I was ready to fast, and I was like, I'm gonna do 40 days. So the first 3 weeks was no problem. By that 4th week, yeah, it was different. It got real, and so I added orange juice, and I was able to go another 2 weeks. And that by that 37th day, I like you would think, oh, 3 more days. No, it was time. It was time.
How did you break your fast? At all?
I don't. Whatever was there. Whatever was around. No, but really, okay. So let's talk about that, because what happened to me, or what happens to anyone during a fast? During a fast, and this is the genius of the human body, because I talked about Dr. Jennings at the beginning, who had the do nothing plan, and I mean, again, people were healing it probably. I mean, I'm sure he was administering and telling people to maybe just drink water, rest, and take the sugar pill, right? No, he didn't call it a sugar pill. That was the magic in it. That was the magic. When we stop eating, the body becomes the healer.
Yeah, it goes into a self-healing.
It goes into self-healing. And that is the only healing that can take place. There is nothing that we can put inside of us that can activate or stimulate healing. It can stimulate, but that's not healing. It's the own body's intelligence, and it knows exactly when to do something. It knows when to eliminate. It knows when to activate whatever organ or whatever is happening. It has an intelligence and a genius. And so what happens when we stop eating? All right, well, when we eat, anytime we eat, and especially if it's something that has fat or protein, the body will store some of that for a rainy day. Okay, so anytime, and it doesn't matter, like it could be very healthy or very unhealthy, but it will store some of that. And largely, and most people, it's stored in the fat tissues, it's stored in the lymphatic system. all over the body. It's storage. What happens with most people, obviously, people never tap into that storage. We just eat, we overeat, we just eat until we get sick. The body throws an illness at you. This is correct action. This is what the body is trying to. It's like, look, stop. Like, yes, alarms going off. You don't have an appetite. Okay, so then it's like, let me catch up because I'm backed up. So now the sickness happens. You don't have an appetite. Maybe you're doing soups or whatever you're doing. Hopefully, I mean, if you happen to go to the hospital, what do? They give you pain medication, because pain is probably our most important signal and sensation. It is something we don't want to dull. Is our ability to feel pain. Our sensitivity to feel pain is what, again, is the alarm. And when you don't allow yourself to resort to the painkillers, you force yourself to say, okay, what can I do to alleviate this pain? More oftentimes than not, it's like, again, what did we talk about tonight? Most important activity, sleep. Or in addition to that, get in some water. Get in some warm water, turn off the lights, and yes. And that is probably like what you could do for just about anything that you're going through. Those two things alone.
Warm water and darkness.
Yes. Go into the womb. You create your womb. Yeah. All right.
Not a shower.
Right. No, not a shower. So again, that's what's happening. When we by fasting voluntarily, we're performing scheduled maintenance. We're getting in front of the crisis before it happens. See, most we have different animals that go into their hibernation season, right? They won't eat for months, and they come out better than they was before they went into hibernation. They won't eat for months, but yet they don't die. Exactly. They've been. It's an extended rest. This month, especially December. I mean, it's by far, if you're gonna fast any month out of the year, especially extended fast, this month by far is the most important month to fast. If you live in the northern hemisphere. If you live in the south, below the equator, or outside of the equator actually, but below the equator, then it flips, because the sun is on this side of the world versus now it's outside, and it's at its extreme right now. And so really, this is our hibernation period. This is our period where we go in and we don't eat for a few weeks, or at least a week. It should be at least a week. Anybody that's doing a fast during this time should do themselves a favor and give themselves at least a week. Exactly. This is our artificial virtual reality. Right. Exactly. This is our artificial virtual world, of artificial virtual reality. Right. And then the lights, We have more light pollution during this time of the year than any other time. This is the time where we really should be connecting to that dark energy more than anything. I mean, when does the sun come up now? It comes up around 7 and goes down around 4, 5 o'clock. Yeah, so that's what, 16, 17 hours of darkness? Yeah, that's healing. That's healing. So when we talk about all of the healing functions that happen during the sleep cycle, and if we do that now, we talk about an extended fast and how we can not only repair all of those glands that I talked about. It's the Great Reset. It's the Great Reset. And so this is the time, when the solstice, this is the time where our energies should be, again, most reserved, most quiet, most meditative, most prayer-like, whatever you're into, on a deeper level, on a quiet level. This is the time to really get into that in a major way, to create that reset. I mean, for people who, I know people like to maybe fast with the new year in January. I mean, the energy is so different in January than December. It's so different. It's like, because one of the things I always do is I equate the year on a 24-hour clock. So right now, if we could put December on a 24-hour clock, December is 12 midnight, maybe 3 a.m., somewhere around there. Well, between 12 and 3, let's just say that. 12 midnight and 3 a.m. All right. I mean, January is like the morning. As far as that's like time to wake up. Now, that's not a bad time to fast in the morning. I mean, we all are breaking this fast with breakfast. But this is, to me, way more powerful time to fast in December, versus January. And a lot of people, I mean, doing this for a long time and, serving the public, most people are definitely activated in the springtime to fast. They feel the summer coming and they want to shed the winter weight for their, summer outfits. So, but again, a great time. I mean, springtime is definitely a, opposite of the time we are now. This is like probably the most unhealthy time of the year as far as people's habits and the traditions and things. And the springtime is probably the healthiest time. People want to be healthy. People think about, doing juices and eating more salads and raw foods and things like that. But yeah, this is the time when we talk about bringing the fast in this time of the year. The importance of sleep, not only getting your sleep, on a 24-hour clock, but just on a extended clock, as I explained. This is our hibernation time. So we want to take advantage of that. And I'll leave it there. I want to appreciate y'all listening, giving me y'all energy. All right. So yeah. I have some juices. I talked about my book. I got some of my course, my culinary course available as well. So if anybody's interested,
You taking any questions?
Yeah, questions.
Here, I'll have one.
Okay.
So coconut water, did you incorporate the pulp of the young coconut too, or just the water?
Oh, that's a great question. Great question. If I'm beginning a fast and I'm like, transitioning, like using like smoothies, then yes.
Okay.
But if I'm really like
Already-
right. So it really just depends on like if you're doing more smoothies, which is part of what I recommend as well. I just say real quick that like when I first started doing my fast, like I would have like juices, smoothies, and milks,
Okay.
and then like for the first like 2 or 3 days, and then in the next 2 or 3 days I would have just coconut water, and then in the last couple of days I'd have juices, smoothies, and milks. So the milks would be like the coconut milk. So you just take the coconut water, blend it. Yeah, blend it with the
I have a question. I know like some fruits are naturally high in sugar. Which one of your juices has like the least amount of natural sugars?
Oh, that's a good question. Well,
I know like pineapple has a lot of sugar, orange.
okay, well, it's a wow. Okay, now the whole sugar thing. Not all sugar is obviously created equal. I mean, we all understand that. Sugar is so I look at sugar as far as like like a pineapple, for example, as you mentioned, is obviously a sweet sugar. But then you have like for example, I got like a juice with cinnamon in it. So cinnamon is also a form of sugar, but it doesn't have a sweet taste. It's more of a bitter. Okay, but that is still a sugar. Now it may not break. It breaks down differently. The sweet sugar is going to break down quicker than the bitter sugar. All right, but still sugar nonetheless. The sweet sugars are from a fruit are going to be healing. Okay, because one, we need those sugars. Those sugars we're going to be able to process them. It's in a living water. So as far as right. But in terms of staying away from the bad sugars, that's staying away from carbohydrates.
Right.
That is the worst form of sugar
Gotcha.
because that's not only a sweet sugar, that is a sugar like that has a protein associated with it that the body has a really difficult time processing.
Right.
Okay, and that ends up leading to all types of problems and issues, and we that we're all familiar with. And what happens is that fruit sugars get demonized. They get categorized with those potatoes and rice and bread and those sugars, pastas, and the sugars that we're all addicted to. That is actually the number one drug.
That's what I was gonna say. You said caffeine.
Right. Actually, processed starchy sugars are the number one.
So don't be
And they're in
don't
everything.
Be scared of the fruit
Don't be
sugars.
scared of the fruit
I'm
sugars.
sitting here like pineapple,
No, because that's one actually, and that's the one type of fast that I didn't talk about is a fruit fast. Because you can eat grapes and pineapples and watermelon, and it actually, right, that will actually flush, and that's a fast. I mean, those foods are 95% water. I mean, the fiber is so insignificant that it's really one click above drinking juice, especially the fruit.
They demonize watermelon. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But, which juice is good for
Call you,
detox?
make arrangements, get the rest.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank-
Which
alright.
one is good to start a detox?
They're all good. I mean, they just different flavors of water.
I was told I had some gastrointestinal inflammation. I had acid reflux a number of years ago, and then some years later, I had some tears. So they gave me a proton pump inhibitor
Oh
for the
wow.
last couple of months. And they said they don't see any signs of any tears anymore. No ulcers,
Okay.
but some inflammation still. Just had
Right.
my first colonoscopy.
Okay.
And so they moved a couple things. They were benign. And so I want to get rid of the inflammation.
Okay.
And I wasn't, digesting well for a while. And then I went vegetarian about a month ago. And then I noticed.
When's the fast started?
The fast, I need
Yeah,
to start a
yeah.
fast this month. I need to start this month and plan it. I'm gonna eat tonight though, but I haven't really eaten all day, but
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to start a juice fast. So I don't know if I want to get I cook a lot. And I've been cooking vegetarian dishes now. Before I was cooking meat dishes, but now I'm cooking vegetarian dishes.
Okay.
So, and you have a location in town?
Yeah.
So I can just come and pick it up.
Yeah. There you
so
go.
I feel like cooking. So, oh, really? In Georgia?
I'll do it for $5. Normally 10. So that $5. Yeah.
So this is a DVD.
So you're at coconut.
Cane and coconut.
Huh?
Cane and coconut.
Cane and coconut.
Yeah.
So you don't sell your food anymore.
I do.
You do.
I
Yeah,
sell it
I saw
already.
they had the hemp burger in there.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us in such a nice space. Are
I
you?
think I'll go for the detox.
Or the spe-
Okay.
in this book.
So, how do people sustain? So say like you take
I know, I can.
So how do you sustain on juices during the entire detox? 7 days.
Well, if you have high blood pressure,
Excellent. Thank you so much.
your pressure is going to go down naturally. And I actually got somebody off of their high blood pressure medication because you're taking blood thinners or things that that again is going to stimulate your body to
Heal.
right. Well, it's not healing essentially, but to allow. Basically, this is the role. The role of Western medication is to keep you continuing your bad habits
Right.
and
because
not
it's
making
an
it.
artificial fix. That's what I don't
Right.
understand. It's
Right.
an artificial fix, but they're not really fixing the problem.
Exactly.
Keep coming back.
It keeps it allows you to keep eating the way you want to eat. And doing right. So again, I mean, especially from what I talked about tonight, you got to start looking at how you sleep. Are you getting good quality
I
sleep?
tell you, man, I sleep with. I've always slept with the light on.
You always sleep with the light on?
All my life.
Oh,
Because
wow.
I can't see in the dark, and I don't know. It was something earthy.
Wow.
I've always slept with the light on.
That's
You
amazing.
get that, I'll get this. You get that.
Paradise.
Okay.
I just want to get the opposites in for sure.
Yeah, so all the juices are $5. Again, that's the special. Yeah, they got more juices. Huh? Yeah, got more.
That's a green celery thyme. Sounds good.
Checked out your live. You was looking for the tangerine.
Oh, this has coconut water.
I got
Orange grapefruit
right
wine,
next to
coconut
me.
water.
I told your man to tell you he can't give you the message.
Nah.
Purple
You got my
thyme,
number.
hibiscus,
I called you.
ginger,
I called you for this.
this,
Like they had the tangerines.
apple,
Like,
pear,
boom,
ginger,
that bag
cinnamon.
up $5.
Oh, it's all good.
They out of season now. For what I mean, for them.
It's almost
I knew you wanted to, but you said. And I started making it at home too. I see you talking about.
Yeah.
I can't find.
Oh yeah. The tangerines, them honey tangerines is like amazing.
We got,
I got my juices. You gonna get one? Which one?
It don't matter.
the cucumber.
It's kale, celery, pineapple.
So
Here's an
these are
apple
part of
cinnamon.
the cleanse that you get, like,
Yeah.
like number 1, number 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is
Okay.
yeah, it's good for blood pressure.
Mine is up and down.
This is good.
I'm going
It's
to.
the only
Where's
one.
your prize?
It's
Where's your prize?
Are we gonna have the tour still? Okay.
See if I
Pepper?
have
I'm gonna get a package of.
Oh, thank you.
I already have the book, but I gifted it to someone.
Oh, okay.
So
There you
I'm gonna
go.
get it again. And I'm
Alright.
gonna, if it's okay, I'm gonna have you sign it.
Yeah,
I have a
yeah.
Sharpie.
Oh, great
Okay,
idea. Great idea. You come at
My daughter did your face.
No, I.
This is
Okay,
good.
thank you.
She did his face.
Oh,
There's a bag. right
you
there.
got online?
No, she went to the store and was on H Street.
So what kind of name is Kepler? That's your name? Kepler?
Yeah, that's my name.
So what does that stand
That's
for?
not your government.
It is. Well, it's not my birth name.
Yeah.
But I did legally change it.
What does that mean?
It has different meanings. It refers to the beetle, which is like symbolic for manifestation, or bringing something out of nothing.
So I missed the first part. So how long have you been? I know you've been doing it a long time because I've been to your store on H Street. And you've been at the H Street Festival and stuff, but how long have you been eating
Oh,
raw?
this lifestyle. It'll be 22 years or 23 years. I started in 2000.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I turned 50 this year.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's
You're welcome.
awesome.
Thank
I ain't gonna tell you how
you.
I'm older. Oh my.
Okay.
But I've been eating. I follow a lot of raw people, so like Dr. Maurice and Dr. Savy helped me out tremendously. That's what
Nice.
really stirred me into really thinking more vegan and raw because I don't know, I had inflammation in my knee in 2017 and I could work. It got to the point where I was losing my ability to walk.
Wow.
And I somehow stumbled across these videos on YouTube and I started changing my diet and inflammation went away.
Like I dozed off. I was like,
I grab 2 more.
Okay.
Hey,
Uh-huh.
do you, if I wanted to get like a gallon of coconut water a week, how would I make that deal like with you and your man?
Oh, you let him know. I mean, he usually keep a couple gallons in there that's already, yeah.
So I would like kind of.
Because he got somebody helping him now doing, yeah. So they usually will have like, at least 2 gallons in the fridge. So you can just go in and then they'll just be, like, if you want to call them, let them know ahead of
What's his
time.
name again?
Patari. Yeah.
I'll wrap you later on then.
Okay,
You know,
bro.
I still haven't finished up my little subscription I got with you that the week joint.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I won't be up on that end like that,
Okay.
but 'cause when I came in and saw him, I didn't see you.
Okay.
I was talking about the tangerines. I was like, oh my.
Right.
4th one.
Right. Okay.
Anyway. all
What
right.
did these run?
All right, bro. All right. Yeah, what you get?
This one. How much is this one?
We can do this for 20.
And this one?
That's 10.
So we do both?
Yeah.
Still safe? Okay.
Oh no, 25?
And then these two juices for me because I can,
Yeah, because these really go together.
yeah.
Like yeah, because in the videos I refer to the book.
Okay.
And the book has like the it has like in terms of like I don't teach from recipes, I teach from like taste.
Mhm.
And it's like, you know, it's and there's like lists in the back of the book that, you know, that already,
Check out the rest
yeah,
of
so
the-
we do both for 25, 30, so that's 35. Okay.
You got plenty.
The green juices went. It was only the one. See, I got celery in the house, I got pineapple in the house, I got ginger in the house. Use my kale, so I can get this recipe and make that.
Hey, this for,
I'm pleased.
I think we can end our videos here.
We got this leaf. Pineapple and ginger, of course, is good together. And they put